This is Delhi. Please stand by for our next program. This is All India Radio.
In our national program of talks, we present a discussion entitled Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Vaishnava movement. Participating in the discussion, we have Dr. Sunetra Mitra, noted historian, Professor Alok Kumar, academician, both from the Calcutta University, and Sundar Gopal Das Prabhuji from the Chaitanya Research Centre, Kolkata.
Today, in our national program of talks, we present a discussion entitled Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Vaishnava movement. I have with me Sundar Gopal Das Prabhuji, research assistant at Bhakti Vedanta Research Centre, a disciple of Srila Bhakti Vallabh Tirtha Goswami Maharaj. I also have with me Dr. Sunetra Mitra, assistant professor of history. Myself, I am Professor Alok Kumar, an academician and an educator. We are going to discuss here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's contribution to the great Vaishnava movement, and we are going to discuss his contribution to the great unity of our country, India, through love, religion, and also of the unity of all segments of people. Chaitanya was a great religious and social reformer in the 15th century in India. The great saint was one of the greatest exponents of the Bhakti movement. He popularized the Bhakti movement in India. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached love, equality, humanity, and harmony. He denounced caste system. He accepted devotees from all strata of the society. He was responsible for the popularity of Vaishnavism in Bengal through his kirtans and was unparalleled in lyricism and beauty. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached and spread loving devotional services and congregational chanting through personal involvement. He propagated the cult of devotion. He introduced kirtan or mass chanting of the Hindu religion. And we are going to hear from Sundar Gopal Das ji to hear about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born 500 years ago in Navadvip, Mayapur. Many people know that Lord Chaitanya is a great saintly personality, but according to various scriptures, Lord Chaitanya is Krishna himself with the mood and complexion of Srimati Radharani. Krishna wanted to know the greatness of Radharani's love for him, to relish that love, and he was greedy to know the happiness she gets from loving him, and for that reason was the cause of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in Kali Yuga. And apart from that, the secondary reason for his appearance is to deliver the souls through the congregational chanting of the holy names.
True.
And he inundated the entire Navadvip, Mayapur, Shantipur with the congregation of chanting of the holy name, which is also known as the Sankirtan movement. And not only that, when the entire society was in great turbulence, the king was torturing the civilians and so on, then Mahaprabhu appeared to maintain the equilibrium between various relations, to keep balance in society and to deliver all from this miserable condition. To help us realize the taste of divine love, he reveals to his devotees the path of surrender and devotion through his words and by his own example.
Do you think that, at this point, that we must also discuss that what was the political background?
Yes.
At this point? And I go to Dr. Mitra, if you could just elucidate to us.
We just heard from Sundar Gopal Das about Sri Chaitanya's birth and also about the mystical aspect of him. But as a historian, I think Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just not a mystical figure, because he actually contributed much more to the political and social climate of the age. It will be wrong on our part to think that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly initiated a movement about which he never even thought of at that point of time, but he was actually a product of the Bhakti movement that was going on in India during that period. So Bhakti, without understanding the Bhakti movement and its tenets, it is difficult to situate Sri Chaitanya Dev. So Bhakti movement in India first began in South India during 7th and 10th century, but it gradually waned off. It was soon revived by popular saint poets following the philosophical and ideological movement of scholars and acharyas, beginning with Ramanuj in the 11th century, and later on it continued. Ultimately we have Sri Chaitanya, Kabir, Guru Nanak and many others. But Sri Chaitanya Dev is solely remembered for making Vaishnavism popular among the rank and breadth of the people who became his devotees and whom he gave a special status as worshippers of God. So this, I guess...
Yes. I think also, if you agree with me, that, it is from here that we can take up that he is the one who broke the caste system. That there was so much in the Brahminical era, that there is so much of this thing, that casteism is very ancient in India, and the origin of which can be traced even to the Ashokan period. It was there. It existed during the Bhomaka, the Ganga, Somavashi and Gajapati period. It was there. The system exists till now and has proved as one of the major hindrances to national and social progress. This, I feel, is very important. The caste prejudice had attained its zenith during the medieval period. Caste and subcastes were responsible in splitting up the society into many compartments. It suppressed the inferior class and protected the privileged class. It checked the economic and intellectual progress and created obstruction in the way of social reform. In the economic field, the caste system undermined the efficiency of labor. It fostered economic discontent and social prejudice. As has already been mentioned, caste identity as a social institution continued over centuries. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu initiated the struggle to bring change and reform in the existing society. And could you just slightly elaborate on what is the contribution of Chaitanya in this?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a child prodigy and became a great scholar at a young age. And during his childhood, he was studying at the toll of Gangadas Pandit in Navadvip. And he was, in a very young age, he became a very well-known scholar in Sanskrit, Nyaya and rhetoric. And he also read Smriti, but that was by his own, because since Jagannath Mishra, his father, was also a Pandit, so he did the entire study of Smriti by his own at his house, because at some point of time Jagannath Mishra didn't allow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go to schools.
Yes.
So now, after when he was around 10 to 11 years of age, Chaitanya became a passable scholar in grammar, rhetoric, Smriti and Nyaya, and then he became one of the great Pandit in the Navadvip. And situations were like that when the local renowned Navadvip Pandits, they would walk on the streets, they would fear of seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because if Mahaprabhu would speak or ask something, or ask any tricky questions about Nyaya or philosophy, if they wouldn't answer, they would feel extremely embarrassed. I mean, they would avoid Mahaprabhu and would walk across the streets. Not only that, even when the Digvijay Pandit, the Kashmiri Brahman, Keshav Kashmiri, visited Navadvip, who was renowned scholar that time in India, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated him in a debate with his students. But in a way, he defeated not to make him feel embarrassed or to make himself proud. He defeated in such a manner that whatever the points he has established in praise to Ganga Devi, he composed 100 verses where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed that where he is wrong. And in a very simpler way, without offending his sentiments and senses, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu defeated him. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not showing that I defeated him, I am the proud person. So that was his nature. He wanted to give this to the entire humanity, that we should live a very simple life, non-violence to others, and the spread of the divine love. I mean, unity in diversity.
Do you think that you could highlight something more on this, that about the breaking of the caste system, his contribution?
As a Vaishnavas in general, they never believed in the caste system, and they believed in the equality of mankind and also in fostering love through devotion. But Chaitanya added a new dimension to it. It was through his leadership that it developed into a social movement. It assumed the name of Gaudiya Vaisnavism as we know it. Although there hardly existed in Hinduism a religion based on love and devotion for the divine, Chaitanya made it into a new religion by adding it to it ideas about liberal humanism and social equality deriving from the Sufi philosophy. He adopted the concept of Jivatma and Paramatma and added to it the idea of inconceivable duality and non-duality, the idea of simultaneous diversity and unity of God and soul. In this concept, Radha is the personification of Krishna's power of ecstasy. So, though in physical form they are two, they are also essentially one. The love of Radha and Krishna became manifest in their longing to become one, and shows that through love and devotion, the human soul can attain union with the eternal soul.
Okay.
So, in a way, Chaitanya was giving the right to worship to every single individual, irrespective of the caste, irrespective of the religion that he or she followed.
But in spite of that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was never eager to formulate any doctrine. He was so learned himself, as you say.
Yes.
And as Dr. Mitro says about the whole thing of his being learned, but in spite of that, I have never found that he wanted to formulate any doctrine for his faith in writing. Because of his outstanding personality, people around him were impressed and became his devotees consciously. He never tried to establish any sect, nor to deliver any lecture to the public gathering. Chaitanya, due to the emotional absorption, had time or willingness to found a sect. This is what I feel about it. What is your feeling on this?
Yes, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never spread any doctrine, but it was only the three things which we have started the discussion with. The three things is non-violence, unity among each other, and spreading the divine love. So that was the main thing. He said that in this Kali Yuga, when he appeared, that same Krishna who has appeared as Lord Chaitanya in this Kali Yuga, he will not conquer the people with violence, but he will try to conquer the people with divine love. And that was the main reason for his appearance in this Kali Yuga.
Do you feel that Mahaprabhu Chaitanya's one of the biggest contribution is the Hari Sankirtan?
Yes.
The gathering of people, congregation. And would you like to add something?
The Hari Sankirtan was not merely the chanting of God's name in the first place. It was a weapon. It was a social weapon that Shri Chaitanya was engineering to garner his protest against the existing abuses of the society. So that way, Hari Sankirtan helped in bringing cohesion among the people who were still then divided, and through this, he reached out to a large number of people who were still then not accepted within the main framework of the Hindu society. As you already pointed out very rightly, that Hindu society, the Varnashram has been an integral part of the Hindu society, or the Brahminical order. More than Hinduism, I will call the Brahminical order, right from the start, from the Vedic ages only. Even in the Rig Vedas, we find mention of the Varnashram. During the later Vedic period, the thing intensified, and it was because of this that Ashoka propagated the Dhamma, because he was keenly aware of the dissensions in the society, and he did not want to antagonize more people by adhering to any particular religious creed. So what was happening way back, we find a repetition of the same kind of thing in the 15th century, because by that time Hindu society had become extremely ritualistic. It had become caste rigidities were too much for the people, and there were too many injunctions on the people to attain devotion or to attain fulfillment of their inner cry to reach the eternal or God, whatever. So Sri Chaitanya broke that tradition, and by assimilating people into the Sankirtan, he broke all barriers of distinction. So that way the Nagar Sankirtan cannot be looked upon just as a mere musical event.
Yes, I think.
I would like to add a point here.
Yes,
so as
yes.
we see, when he went to defeat Chatkaji, he led a big Sankirtan with so many people of Navadip holding torches, and by singing the holy names of the Lord, they went to the house of Chatkaji. Even if you see as an example, during the deliverance of Jogai and Madhai, he didn't hold any weapon.
Right.
He said with Harinam Sankirtan or with the chanting of the Lord's name, they will be purified because they have done such a sinful act.
I think the Harinam Sankirtan, it was very allegorical.
Yes.
Yes.
Hori is
Yes.
the all-powerful,
Yes.
and it defied any religious sanctions.
Yes.
Right. It is also that, like the Brahmanical puja, we see, the Brahman, we are dependent on him, and he is doing the offering to the God. Here, in contrast, you have a mass of people who are chanting the praise of God to Lord Hari, to Vishnu. So instead of one person offering prayer on our behalf, we have all of us together in unison.
Yes.
We are offering the prayer. This is the big difference which I feel, which is the contribution of the Hari Sankirtan.
No, there is also another aspect to this. This was very assimilative in the sense, culturally this was very assimilative, because Hari Sankirtan was directly taken from the tradition of the Sufism, from the practice of Sufism, because in Sufism you have the dervishes, they're circling round, the charkas, something we find later on we found in the Kathak dance tradition that has been assimilated. So scholars believe that these features of Sufism were incorporated into the Nagar Sankirtan movement. So Chaitanya was extremely aware of the diverse currents that was going on at the time,
Yes,
and he
you-
was consciously assimilating those without even naming them.
Yes, you're right in a way that, there is some aspect of Sufism, but I feel that Hari Sankirtan is Chaitanya's original.
Yes.
It
I
is-
would
it
like
is a-
to add also
yeah.
another point
It is-
that has come from, he himself said one verse. So what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what the verse explains is that the entire world is like a garden and I'm the only gardener. How can I pick up all the fruits and distribute them to everyone? He does order everyone to help distribute this divine love in the form of Harinam Sankirtan.
Right. Because it is also true that some of the low Hindu caste people were not allowed to mix with their upper caste. So thereby in the temple and other places also, they were not allowed to enter the temple, worship the god and to receive Vedas or the Puranas. The Hindus had no system of common mass prayer or worship as Muslims or Christians. Because Christian has the passion play, for example. Christian have the mass. Hindu worship was all along individual, whatever be in its method, even if you are praying personally or through a Brahman. But the mass chanting of Kirtan is one type of a common mass. Would you like to add something on that?
I would like to focus here on the movement which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did in Jagannath Puri, because the situation in that century was such, even the Shudras, when they were passing the roads, if the shadow will also fall on the Brahmins, they would reject him, they would start beating them. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thought that if a Brahmin, being a Brahmin, he is very proud about himself, but he is not following the rituals, the exact system of a Brahmin. Whereas a Shudra, being a Shudra, he is following all the other rituals. So that's why there was no barrier of caste, creed and religion in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement. He wanted everyone. And that's why we do not believe in that Brahman, that the Brahman is worshipping and we have to follow that. Here we all are the worshippers of Lord. What eligibility the Brahman has and I do not have, just because he has a thread and we do not have. That was Mahaprabhu's movement. Mahaprabhu thought that we are the part and parcel of the Lord and we have the right to serve the Lord in our own way. Do not have to go through any Brahmin or something. Yes, but there are messengers of the Lord who has come to our lives in our spiritual masters, those who have followed the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if you say, so I will focus on the Puri movement which Mahaprabhu did. There he made a big movement where he made everyone, all, means now the Shudras are also allowed to the temples. Before it was not such. So now if you see the Shabur class, the lowest of the class, they are serving the Lord Jagannath in Jagannath Puri, and that happened only by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
For long, I thought that the Dol Purnima, where we play with the color and all that, actually Dol Purnima, the celebration of Dol, is actually the celebration of birthday of Lord Chaitanya. This is when I was young. Because in the evening, my mother used to take me to the Gaudiya Mott. And all I had to do was sit over there with her. And, after some time, there was Kirtan over there. I used to shout, Hori Bol, Hori Bol. And I was very happy because after that, there was a distribution of this jaggery, sweet jaggery. But one thing I found, that it was never offered to you on a plate like we do in a Hindu temple. It was just distributed, it was thrown. And people picked it up from the ground and they ate it. And when I grew up, I found that there was great equality in this. There is no other example which I have researched or found where the prasad is thrown to the ground and people picks it from the ground and accepts and eats it. I have not found anywhere. But it is an allegory, as we said a few minutes back, because this is actually, it gives a lot of equality, that all of us who are here, we are all equal. There is no front person who come for prasad, or there is no line or anything. It is just thrown, we say Hori Bol, and it is thrown to the wind. You just gather it and we take it from there. That is what I felt. What is your feeling on it?
I think you are very right. So that was a kind of equality, that was a kind of egalitarianism embedded here. Yes. Because the jaggery sweet was thrown in. There was fun, there was frolic, and and in that fun and frolic, people were touching each other. Something so important. And it was not only the children who were doing that. It were the adults as well who were equally doing it, because children do not perpetrate difference. It's us, the adults, who perpetrate difference. And Chaitanya Dev was breaking that division. So he was breaking all the barriers, but in the simplest possible ways. In a way, in a very harmless ways, very innocuous ways, so that people do not doubt his intentions. He made himself acceptable to a very large section of the people by adopting means which on the surface does not have any hidden agenda on it, to use today's parlance, any hidden agenda about it.
Like for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, King Indudunna was same, and also a Shabur class was same to him.
Yes,
it's not that he is a king, he will have all the facilities, and he is a Shudra. To him everyone said.
Right.
And this throwing of the jaggery which you said, this is like throwing the love. That's what Mahaprabhu says. Love cannot be distributed on a plate.
Yes.
So this is the love which is throwing in all the communities where people out of caste, creed and religion, they're coming to Mahaprabhu to accept this love.
True. It is like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never propounded any ideology which is far above such small matters of caste, creed, geography, boundary. To a question as who am I, he gave a very simple answer to this. I am not a Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra. I belong to no caste. In fact, I am a servitor of Lord Krishna, who is an ocean of all bliss, which you just now said. Now, from this I feel that even the movement is more than ideologically, it is of emotional nature. What you have to say?
See, I will first refer something from the scriptures. Like in the scriptures, when we go to the inside the temple, inside the altar room, so the first thing when we first start to worship the Lord, the first shloka written on the book is, I am not a Brahmin, I am not a Shudra, I am not a doctor, I am not an engineer, but I am the servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. So this is what Mahaprabhu preached. So as you have mentioned there, that he is mentioning that ocean. So he is mentioning that why we may have this false pride inside us that I am the Brahmin or you are the Shudra, I am the doctor, I am the rich, I am the poor. He didn't do anything. He said end of the day we have to go to that Almighty and we have to stand in that same queue where the rich, poor, beggars, even a doctor or even a prime minister have to stand. So in that queue of Lord, in that court, everyone will be judged same. There is no that you are rich, you will be given the first. Almighty's vision, in the Lord's vision, everyone is same. There is no discrimination. Even though you are a rich person or even though you are a low person, it doesn't matter.
See, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never wrote any scripture or anything.
Yes.
And in spite of that, in spite of this, there is a huge amount of literature, Vaishnavi literature, which I find which came from the Chaitanya movement. What is your take on this? I mean, a person who himself not writing anything on this, living, except I think the 8 lines which he...
The 8 verses of Shikshashtaka.
Yes. Other than that. But there is a huge amount of literature on.
Yes, Sri Chaitanya himself never wrote down anything, but there is a huge biographical literature centering around him, and we know about the Vaishnava literature that flourished both before and after Sri Chaitanya came. And you know what was most significant about Sri Chaitanya's movement was the way he popularized vernacular, especially Bangla. And so far Sri Chaitanya is concerned, his teachings, he actually popularized the Bhagavad Puran, and especially in Orissa, because where you had the Bhagavad Gharas, and it used to be built in the center of the village, to which the villagers would flock to, and they would chant the Bhagavad. So these are certain things that made Bhakti popular, despite the fact that Sri Chaitanya never himself wrote down anything or instructed anyone to write down anything. So this is significant. They were later
he
collected.
instructed Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami to write books.
Yeah, to write books.
Yes.
Yes. And that became very popular, because there was during that time the learned, they would either use Sanskrit or Arabic or Persian, none of which would reach out to the lesser people in the sense the people who were not so well read.
Yes, but in spite of this, Chaitanya had declared in public that he is endeavoring to build up a new society based on the principle of social equality. He was successful in attempting to break down orthodox Brahmanical domination of a society and proclaim the dignity of every man. He helped the upliftment of lower ranks of the society and the unlettered masses by carrying some Sankirtans to their doors even. The movement, though Sankirtan was very popular, had a remarkable effect on the then socio-religious order. The tenets of this faith were incorporated in the cult of Jagannath. As you said a moments back, the Shabor community was taken, they were not allowed.
Yes.
And even today, in the Jagannath temple, as you know, it is even the prasadam of Lord Jagannath is actually cooked by the Shabor community people.
Yes, and there is no discrimination of prasadam. If you have seen, they will offer that same pot where you have eaten, that same pot will be offered to you. Even if a dog is also eating from that pot, that pot will be offered to you later washed. So there is no discrimination in taking Jagannath Mahaprasad, because that is called the the remnants of Lord Jagannath.
Right.
And if one discriminates, he will have face the consequence.
In fact, even the very image of Jagannath, what is it made up of? That is not made up of very, very expensive stone or carved out of very expensive material. It's of neem. It's neem wood that is used for the making of the image of Jagannath, which shows that every people, whoever he follows as his Lord, can use any kind of material. One does not necessarily need to be rich or poor, does not necessarily need to be rich to reach out to Lord Jagannath. So Jagannath, it was a very egalitarian way of promoting not just the religion, but a viewpoint.
And also if you see Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, he's called. So that's why during Rath Yatra, if you see, people from various communities participate, because the Lord himself is coming out from the temple to give his darshan to the devotees, because those who are not allowed inside still.
I think even Chaitanya's way, the way he was promoting his, I should not be using the word promoting, the way Vaishnavism or his beliefs were promoted, the akras or these schools, they were so much akin.
I think for me, the biggest impact to the world and to the larger audience is of Chaitanya is the contribution to Vaishnavism. I feel that it has a very, very big impact on Mahatma Gandhi. Very big impact. Mahatma Gandhi himself, he said in his autobiography that he is a Vaishnava. He has confessed to that I'm one of the biggest Vaishnava. But I feel that two of the things which he inculcated from Lord Chaitanya is that, one, that the thing of conditional prayer, which Mahatma Gandhi adopted. And number two is the name of Hari, which he took to say the Harijans, the untouchables. He named them Harijan. These are the two things which he... Another impact, one of the big impacts of this is that, when the dead body is taken for cremation, in North India, they sing the name of Ram. In Eastern India, they sing the name of Hari, they said. Hari bol, Hari bol. That as you come over there, you end.
Yes,
you take
because your ultimate destination is there, at the lotus feet of Sri Hari.
And with that, we end over here. I think it is the biggest, my feeling is that it's the biggest that the Harinam is taken when people go for their last journey.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You have been listening to a discussion entitled Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Vaishnava Movement in our national program of talks. Participating in the discussion were Dr. Sunetra Mitra, noted historian, Professor Alok Kumar, academician both from the Calcutta University, and Sundar Gopal Das Prabhuji from the Chaitanya Research Centre, Kolkata. This program was recorded in the studios of All India Radio, Kolkata, and is a contribution of All India Radio, Kolkata.
Produced and presented by Rita Day of AIR Kolkata. This program came to you from the Delhi station of All India Radio.